Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Pfyl, and I'm a solutions architect here with Megaport. And welcome to joining our Megaport live drop-in today. For those of you that don't know who Megaport is, we're a middle mile between the customer and the cloud service providers. And today I'm going to discuss with you a use case to where a customer had a hybrid solution between their data center and AWS, and now they need to bring their Oracle into the mix. So with that, let's look at the next slide here. So this is kind of their use case. The customer has a hybrid cloud network. They have their legacy systems in their data center, and they have some instances in AWS. So they use Megaport with the virtual cross connect to get between their data center and AWS. The Oracle database currently is on premise in this solution. So the challenge is now that Oracle is giving large incentives, and we're seeing this quite often where customers come to us and need to have not only a hybrid cloud solution, but a multi-cloud solution. So Oracle is one of the companies that is giving large incentives to move for the customers to move their on-premise solution into the cloud. And now this causes a concern with latency for the applications, performance of the applications. The customer still needs to get to AWS, but they need to get to Oracle, and they still need to get to their legacy applications back into the data center. So how can Megaport help this? So one of the things that Megaport can do is the good news is the customer is already a customer, but we can integrate this solution with one of our products called a Megaport Cloud Router. And basically is a virtual cloud that sits in our infrastructure that now a customer can build a virtual cross connect between the cloud like AWS and our Megaport Cloud Router. They can build another virtual cross connect to their Oracle in the cloud, and they can have a VXC come back to their data center. So now all the data center legacy apps can still get to the Oracle database. So with that, let's kind of get into the demo. So this is our Megaport portal. And you can see here, this is our dashboard, and you can scroll the dashboard around and kind of move the map to where all the services need to be, bring up the United States. And this is a live portal. It just happens to be my view of my portal. And I can drill into these and drill out, etc. So we talked a minute in the beginning how we were going to integrate Megaport Cloud Router. So this is megaport.com, and you can go to our locations page. And our locations page has all of our locations that we are enabled in globally, right? You'll notice on the left-hand side, you can drill down into MCR locations. And as we look in the United States, you can see that we're regionally kind of built across the United States in Dallas, Denver, Phoenix, LA, all the different locations that we have our Megaport Cloud Router that we're going to use today. Now, in this example, the customer is actually in Carrollton, Texas, and their AWS is in Northern California, and their Oracle database is going to be in Phoenix, Arizona. So let's go back to the portal. So from here, you can go into our services list. This is a pretty big list, but I'm going to filter down to my stuff. And you can see that here's the Megaport that is in the customer data center in Carrollton, Texas. Now, this would normally be green because off of this, we would have a cross connect over to the customer CPE equipment, which I don't have. But for this instance, this is the port in the data center, and we'll connect up when I build the Megaport Cloud Router, we'll end up connecting a VXC back to this port, and you'll see that in a few minutes. I also have my AWS console open. I'll need that to get my account number. And I have my Oracle portal open. And you can see that I've already built an OCID here. It's pending the partner. I filled in some BGP information to make it easier for this demo. So I kind of prepped this to really have a view from the Megaport portal. So let's go ahead and create an MCR. When I go and create this MCR, you'll see that I have an auto zone, I have red zones, and I have blue zones. Megaport has red zones and blue zones for diversity. They're two different sets of boxes, two different hardwares. They're in data centers, sometimes in the same data center, most likely in different data centers. And as we talked about the customer's deployment to where the customer data center is in Dallas or Carrollton, and their Oracle is in Phoenix, and their AWS is in San Jose. We need to get a location for our MCR that's closest to where the cloud service providers are, and then tie that back into our data center. So, for that standpoint of view, we're going to look for something in Phoenix. So you just kind of start putting Phoenix in here, and you can see I can leave this in auto, or if I specifically wanted a red zone, or I specifically wanted a blue zone, I could call that out. In this case, we're not going to do redundancy, so it doesn't really matter. We'll just pick one of these and move on. The next screen we get is our screen where we're going to build our MCR. So we have the choice of a 1 gig, a 2.5 gig, a 5 gig, or a 10 gig throughput. So this is the aggregate throughput. Today we're going to build 500 meg back to the customer data center. We're going to build 500 meg to Oracle and 500 meg to AWS. So for this, we're going to need a 2.5 gig MCR. Now, you could oversubscribe the MCR since it's just 1.5 gig to a 1 gig MCR. Because typically you're not flowing all 500 meg at the same time. But just for this demo, we're going to pick the 2.5. We're going to give it a name. We're going to call it Dan P MCR. And the service level reference is not needed, but if this was for a specific project, you could put the project name in here. Like Megaport Live. And this way you could easily find or bill this back to the customer on a bill. Our normal terms are 12 months is what our standard term is. But if this was a short-term project, the customer could pick no term. Or if this was a longer-term project, they could pick 24 months or 36 months. Since this is a demo, we're just going to do a minimum no term. You can see here at my MCR, I have an ASN. This is the Megaport ASN of 133937. Or you can change this to any MCR that you like. You could have the BGP default state as enabled or shut down. We're just going to leave it as enabled. And we're going to click on next. This kind of is a review telling me everything that was set up, that I wanted a 2.5 gig MCR. I gave it my ASN. I wanted a monthly rate of $900, and I'm going to do add MCR. So you can see here, I've now added, here was my port in Carrollton, Texas, and I've now added my MCR, but it tells me that I've not ordered it yet. So what it's done is it's put it in a cart over here on the left-hand side, right? So you can do one of two things. You can build out all your services, build a connection. I can build the AWS, I can build the Oracle, et cetera, et cetera. And then once I get this long laundry list of in my cart, I can click the order. Now these services take a few minutes to spin up, so I'm just going ahead and order this now and let this get underway. And once in about 30 seconds or a minute, this is going to come back and I'm going to be able to start building connections to it. This is a good time to go into like Oracle and grab my OCID. So I can copy this OCID. I can look at my BGP attributes. So you can see that I'm using 10.0.0.2 as my local IP address. I'm going to use 10.0.0.1 as my Oracle IP address. And you can see my Oracle BGP is 31898, that's standard. And then here's that ASN we chose over in the Megaport portal. Let's go back over to the Megaport portal. Looks like it got hung up, but it'll come back here in just a second. Okay, here we go. Go back into our service list, filter on Dan. And you can see now that I have connections. I can build connections here, right? So I can build Megaport Internet. I can go to different clouds. I can view more options and more providers. I can build internet. In this case, what we're wanting to do is we want to build a connection to Oracle. So I'm going to click in Oracle. And for Oracle, it's really easy, like Microsoft, where all I need to do is have my OCID or my Express Route Service key. So I'm just going to pop that OCID in here, and it's going out to Oracle and verifying the key. This key is representative in Oracle of the region that it's built against, in this case, Phoenix. So here's all the different sites that I could connect to Oracle in. I could connect in this is Digital Realty in Los Angeles. We have two pops in Los Angeles. We have LA, and then we have Chandler. So we're going to pick the red zone in Chandler because that's where we built our cloud router. And then we're going to give this a name again, Dan P. Oracle. We're not going to do anything with the service level reference. This again was for billing, and we're going to say we want 500 meg. So we can either have the VXC state, so this is the virtual cross connect, is up or down. We're going to choose no minimum term. We're going to do next, and then we're going to do my BGP attributes. So I said this was 10.0.0.1. I'm sorry, .2/30. And I'm going to build my BGP peer. So my local address is .2. I'm 10.0.0.1. And my peer ASN was 31898. We'll go verify that, 31898. There is some different tabs in here. You can set a BGP password. We're not going to do that. You can give this a description. You can do some ASPress, some prepending or some med metrics. You can create import filters and export filters. We're just going to leave this as standard and go through. You can see here it's filled in my peer IP addresses, my local IP addresses. We're going to do next. And we can click on the details. We're going to add this VXC. And again, it's put it over here in my cart. So we're going to go ahead and order this so it can start deploying across our network. Okay, I'm going to run in back into this real quick just to make sure all my attributes are kept once this service start deploying. While that's kind of building out, let's go ahead and build our AWS connection. So this is the second way you can get into those connections. Last time I just clicked on one, but here I can go into cloud. I can go into AWS. And you'll notice that we've got 42 hosted VIF locations and 100 hosted connection locations. Now, I don't want to get into a lot about hosted VIF or hosted connections and what those differences are in this webinar. But for this demo, I'm just going to click on hosted VIF and move along. I can sort by country here. And then I said that we were out in San Jose. We were in US West 1. So I'm going to pick Equinix San Jose US West 1. And then I am going to click next here. I'm going to put my connection name, Dan P AWS. I'm going to give this 500 meg. I'm going to click no term. I'm going to click next. I'm going to click through this. Here's where I need my account number. So I'm going to go into AWS and I'm going to grab my account number. Now in the portal, we also, you can see it already has my customer ASN as 13397 because it knows that when we built the MCR. We're going to use the AWS ASN of 64513. We have to have a BGP authorization key with ASN. We're going to make something simple like Megaport 1. And then I'm going to use an IP address. Since I used the 10.0 last time, I'm going to do 10.0.1.1 for my peer side. If I add the /30 on here. And then I'll do 10.0.1.2/30 for the Amazon side. I have my details here. Again, gives me my IP addresses, gives me my ASNs. I'm going to add this VXC, puts it in my cart, and I'm going to go ahead and order this. So you can see now here that what I've done is I built my MCR. I've built my connection to Oracle, which is already green. It's up and going. I now am deploying my connection to AWS. And the last thing I need to do to bring in, like we had on our picture, is bring in the customer location. Now, we always start from the MCR. That's where the A end is, and we connect to the B ends, whether the B ends are the clouds or another customer location. So we're going to build another connection here. This time we're going to build a private VXC. And in here's all of the list of ports we have. You can see here that this is the port that I created, which is Dan P Megaport Live. Don't worry too much about the red and blue zone. If we were doing a full diverse deployment, this would more come into play. But for this demo, it really doesn't. I'm going to give this name. I'm going to call it Dan PVXC to data center. I'm going to make this 500 meg. I can assign a VLAN or I can leave it untagged. I'm just going to leave this untagged because I don't know what VLANs I need yet. I could always come back in and change this if I wanted to. Again, I get my terms. I'm going to do this as a no minimum term. And since this port is not connected to an actual router, like I had said in the beginning, this is where you could fill in your IP information of the CPE that sits in the data center. But since I don't really have one, I'm just going to go ahead and add this VXC. It's not going to come up live. It's just going to stay dark. But if this was a green port, meaning it was a live port connected to a router, then these would also come up as green once I got BGP information, right? So we're going to go ahead and order that. And it's going to take a few minutes. It's telling me that service is deployed. But now we can see that my AWS is up. So my MCR is up, my Oracle's up, my AWS is up, and we're still waiting on this. Now this is really never going to deploy. It's going to say the service is waiting to come up for the first time, and that's because this port is dead. But when this port came live, then this VXC would come up. Also in the MCR, let's see how well I did at deploying this. We have this thing here called Looking Glass. Let's go into our Oracle. Looks like I lost my connection. And we're going to see that my OCID that I had earlier, it's provisioned and my BGP state is up. So now when I go into a Megaport portal, I can look at my looking glass. And I can see that this is my DNP Oracle that I have BGP and BGP is up, right? Um, it looks like it's still connecting. Well, this isn't going to connect to my data center, and there's something wrong with my AWS. So let's go figure out AWS. So this is my new virtual interface or VIF. It's in a confirming status, which means I haven't not accepted it yet. So I'm going to accept this VIF. And I'm going to point this to a direct connect gateway. I'll just use this gateway here and I'm going to accept that virtual interface. Now you'll see that it's moving from a pending state. So this is going to take a few minutes to come up. Right now, BGP is down. But the reason that BGP was down in the portal was that I had not accepted this connection over in the AWS portal. You can see that the IP address is 10.1. Or 10.0.1.2, and I was using my 64513. You can see here that it's 64513 on my Amazon side, 13397 on the Megaport side, and the 10.0.1.1, 10.0.1.2 for the AWS side. So we'll come back and pick this up a little bit. But it's going to take about 3 to 4 minutes for BGP to converge. So with that, let me see if we have any questions in chat. I don't see anything in Q&A, and I don't see anything in chat. I'm going to go back to the services and while BGP is still coming up. I know it's going to come up because I'm sitting here green, but this is how it's easy to deploy Megaport. You can see that I don't have real VPCs or in AWS, and I don't have a real database in Oracle. There's still some work to do in the Oracle side, and there's still some work to do in the AWS side. But within 15 or 20 minutes, I've deployed a customer that basically had a port only going to AWS, right? Just to connect their data center to AWS, where some of their workloads are and their web front ends. So now a total deployment to where Oracle and AWS can talk natively together. AWS can talk back to the data center. The data center can talk to Oracle, etc., by introducing Cloud Router. Let's see if BGP is converged yet. Still looks like it's waiting to come up. No, 0.1.1, 1.2, 6.4.5.3. It does typically take about 4 to 5 minutes. So I know we're getting close to end of time here. This does tell me in my service logs that my VXC is up. I don't have anything here that's telling me that it's rejecting BGP on the AWS side. So I feel pretty good that this is going to come up in the next couple of minutes. If it doesn't, we would just troubleshoot it by going through our IP addresses, making sure those are correct, making sure that we have the right ASNs. But it does take a little while on the AWS side. So with that, I'm going to ask you if there's any questions. I still don't see any in chat. And I'm going to wish you guys a good day.